Hi there, and welcome to something a little different. It's a hybrid of sorts of the AwardsWatch Oscar podcast and a sit-down interview. Joining me today is the creator, writer, and director of a brand new podcast that is going to be your new obsession. Just to be nominated is a murder mystery at the Oscars, and I'll read you the log line just to whet your appetite a little bit. Riley Audrey won the Academy Award for Best Actress after a long and arduous campaign. Later that night, she was found dead in a hotel room. Someone was not happy with her win. Please welcome Jorge Molina.
Hi. Wow, what an intro. Wow. Everything I've ever dreamed of.
How
Thank
are
you.
you?
How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I am good. And honored to be here. And to have this chat with you. But I'm doing well, as well as one can be these days, which is getting slightly better. But
Exactly. A little bit better by the day.
by the day.
Before we jump right into the podcast, let's talk a little bit about you, Jorge.
Yes.
What
My
in
favorite
your
thing to talk about.
exactly? What in your youth made you gravitate toward the Oscars and award season, besides
Ooh.
homosexuality?
Yeah, I mean, yes, I was gonna say just like being a baby gay. No, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's truly like I just cannot pinpoint the like moment it like became like something I was attracted to. Like I remember like in fifth grade, our teacher made us like give a presentation about whatever we wanted to, just to like give out like public speaking skills and just to like get us practicing. And I just remember thinking without like a doubt, like I want to do it about the history of the Oscars. I don't know where it came from. I don't know who like inception that into me, but yeah. So like I remember caring more about like the stats of the Oscars before I even care about like movies. So that was like, I don't know, I just it was like something I watched as a kid every year. The thing that really kind of like made me go really deep was the year that Iñárritu, Del Toro, and Cuarón were all nominated the same year for various projects. I think that was '06. Um, and because like the frenzy back in Mexico, I'm from Mexico for everyone who doesn't know, was just like so high that like all of three directors had gotten like a large number of nominations for their projects. The media just like started publishing, and like the magazine, the movie film magazine that I subscribed to, did like this whole issue about predictions, and like really got me into like, oh, this is what following an Oscar race looks like, and that kind of just like grabbed me from then on. So I guess it was, patriotism that got me into it.
I think it's, besides being in our DNA, which I really feel like
Yeah,
it is, because I
yeah.
think
I feel some scientists need to like look into
I think so, because I think watching the Oscars is probably my earliest memory as a
it.
child.
Yeah.
But I think we're looking for some type of representation, and I'm glad that you brought up the thing that really kind of kicked it off for you, because I think each of, or any of us that aren't conformed into a very traditional straight white cis male
Yeah.
demographic don't get to see ourselves represented at the Oscars, and it's ends up being this kind of push and pull relationship where we
Oh,
love it.
totally. I mean, and it's that feeling of, there's a lot of like underdogs winning, and like, narrative plays such a like a big role in like getting what it's due. And like I remember like one of the earliest, or like a moment I like vividly remember, which is the most random win, but I remember when like a series of unfortunate events won best production design. A very random win. But like I was a very big fan of the books. Like I'm like it's still one of my all-time favorite series books. And I just remember like when it won, like it gave me like this sense of validation that like, oh, like what you like is being awarded by other people, and like that means that like what you like is okay. So it's that sense of like being vindicated, and like, oh, okay, I don't know, it's weird, which I don't know, a lot of it with the queer experience, and like, again, someone write an academic thesis paper on this, but
Let's dive into to quote the podcast itself.
Please.
Well, let's dive into the podcast and tell me a little bit about its inception and just the creation of it.
Yes. I've always wanted to write something set in the world of award campaigning. I've always felt it's such a fertile ground for drama and for conflict and for tension and for big personas. So I knew there was a story to be told there. And for a while, I couldn't find like an entry point to it. Like, what format would it look like? Like, I was like, is this like a Veep type of satire with like that? Is this like a scandal type of situation? Like, what is it? So I never could find an entry point. And then a couple of years ago, I was working on another project, another script that was very much inspired by Agatha Christie and like murder mysteries. So I very much dove into that world for that other project, and I just like was in that headspace, you know, rereading a lot of books, watching a lot of the movies. And so now when I was in kind of like that world, this other, I don't know, when I pulled back the idea of the award campaign, I started thinking about it, and like the two had a lot of things in common. Like the two had a lot of similar themes about, you know, betrayal and legacy and character archetypes, and like how do people feel this character archetypes, and like feeling expectations, and like so I don't know, it made sense to combine them. A lot of similar sensibilities also like intersect the two. So I started developing this as a pilot, actually, and then I got put in touch with a production company that was taking pitches for scripted podcasts, and they were like, do you think this idea could work as a podcast? And I thought about it, and I sat down with it, and, you know, as you know better than a lot of people, podcasting is such a huge part of Oscar punditry world. You know, it's such a like, it's so ingrained in the culture that it was like, oh, like this is actually like a great framing device to tell the story. So I told them the idea. They really liked it, and this company called Kingdom of Pavement, who has been awesome, and they were like, okay, now, you know, go and make it. So that was kind of like how it all started. So now it was just like, okay, what are the key players that usually come in an award season? You helped me out very early on. I put together like a panel of like friends that I know that are like Oscar pundits and like very into the Oscar knowledge to help me figure out like what before I even got into the murder, like what a fake award season would look like, and like what the key players would be. So kind of that was the inception of it.
Yeah, and I remember that well. That was
it was a lot of fun. It was a fun like couple of hours we all had.
One of the great things I like how this has turned out is that it's sort of a podcast in a podcast, because the podcast itself is an Oscar podcast.
Yes.
It's the murder mystery that is then imposed on that, and your hosts, Leo Gold and Terri McPherson, who are hilarious.
Yeah, we love them.
Are sort of task themselves as detectives to figure this out, which I can't think of a funnier thing than an Oscar pundit who wants to insert themselves into the race, you know, because that's what we do sometimes.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, I was just like, who, because I also was like, who would have the most information that would like help them decipher? And it's, you know, these people that like year round, like not just during Oscar season, but like on the off season, they, you know, like with so much like detail and tooth combing the season, that like they would have the facts of like what this looked like. So it felt very natural to kind of frame it in that way.
It is. It's perfect framing. And speaking of detail, you don't miss in, you know, in these 20 plus minutes, you don't miss the details of these races, and specifically Best Actress, because obviously we are talking about the Best Actress race here.
Oh yeah, totally. I knew I had to focus on a single season. Like I I mean, it would have been so much fun to craft an entire like season with every single category, but like, I mean, I knew I had to focus on one, but yeah, I tried to make it as all like encompassing of like what one would see in any given Oscar race, with the types of characters and like the people. The
And,
Meryl
and,
Streep
and Meryl
slot.
Streep, who's
Yeah.
obviously, always going to be in the race, and
Yeah,
she's the only real person amidst a bunch of fictional
sure
characters.
is.
And I swear to God, I just re-listened to episode 1 again, and her film Simpatico, which is called Hereditary meets an Activia commercial. I'm dying every single time.
Yeah, it was a lot. It was yeah, that was fun. And yeah, so I the way I did it, it's just like I came up with this like character archetypes. I gave them like an extensive backstory, which was a lot of fun to write, and then kind of like plotted this like intricate murder mystery around them. But the actual like podcast and the interviews you hear are almost entirely improv by the actors, who I just gave the backstory of the characters and like the facts that they needed to convey in order for the mystery to make sense at the end. But a lot of them is them. The Hereditary meets Activia, that was Zach's like line. And I also wanted to bring a lot of people that had comedic backgrounds and like improv backgrounds to help riff. The Drew Drogi episode, which is episode 2, we have fully like I'd say like 40 more minutes of footage we just couldn't use because he's such a brilliant performer that we just like wanted to have more takes with him because he just like kept going and I didn't want him to stop. So.
Between Drew Drogi's character and the clip from her film, it's life upon life upon life. The poetry is the tasteful nudity of literature.
Mm-hmm.
I fed on that for days. It's phenomenal.
No, he's brilliant, and like I knew him because a few years ago he did a reading for one of my scripts, and when I was developing this, and I had this character because I knew I had to have like an overdue Hollywood legend.
Who should almost remain nameless, but not
exactly.
really because she's name dropped in the podcast.
It rhymes with Blim Blows. And yeah, so I started crafting this character, and we were trying to cast because we did like half people I knew, and then we just like open cast, and we couldn't find like the right person, and then like I don't know, it just hit me that like Drew has to play this. And I reached out to him and I'm like, how would you feel playing Glenn Close via Faye Dunaway? And he was just like, I'm in, like, don't tell me more. And he just ran with it.
So let's play a moment of her big scene, and not to spoil it, but I'm sure you've seen the clips already and the memes. This is where she breaks down in the poetry slam down.
I see you all laughing. I see you all laughing. Yes, all the way in the back. What, you've never seen a completely bald woman recite a sonnet? You've never seen a woman remove everything that makes her a woman and be left with nothing but a pair of rhymes? I feel sorry for you. I truly feel so sorry for you that you'll never experience nakedness like this. Poetry is the tasteful nudity of literature.
Wow. Ooh. I mean, tell me you can't listen to this and not cry.
That's such a fun. But everyone, I mean, there's 7 more episodes to come with like this whole array of different characters and personas and people you would like encounter on any given season. So
yes, I mean, I was going to ask about your casting process anyway, and since we're already kind of in that, is what more can you talk about the casting process?
Yeah, I mean, it was again, a lot of it was just reaching out to people I knew that I feel would like connect with the project, and like also it was back during late summer, early fall. So I knew a lot of, fortunately, a lot of people had availability, a lot of actors. So, I knew Brendan Scannell, who plays Leo. I knew him from, I worked in the Heathers reboot a little bit. So him and I knew from each other from then. I knew Zach from Twitter, and we just had, had hung out a couple of times. And a few friends, one of the next episode that's dropping, episode 3, which is Dinah. Like, she's one of my closest friends from college. She was an acting major. So a few people that I knew from college, people from other shorts that I had done, and then we just the ones that I did not know anyone who personally who could do like a pretentious French director, So like we opened that a little more to open casting, and we asked for like improv background and whatnot. But so it was like a very half standard casting and half, work with people you like and know. And yeah, a friend of a friend like knew Adam Faison, and he really liked the project, and like he's great. His character is like this like betrayed boyfriend by Riley's boyfriend, who's kind of being left behind as she kind of her star rises. His is like being left behind. So he had a lot of fun with that. So yeah, it was like working with people I wanted to work with.
Yeah. Speaking of Riley Audrey, since she is our dead starlet here.
She is, yeah.
Is she based on anybody? More of an amalgam?
Not anyone in particular. Like there isn't like I mean, there's not like the one-to-one almost that like there's with like Christine and like Blem Blows. But no, so I just have noticed that like for the past like decade or so, like these young, naive, wide-eyed young women, were, ended up usually being the front runners of the races. And, a lot of their campaign is based on how relatable and how charming they are. And that's kind of like the persona we present. I'm thinking, Jennifer Lawrence, Brie Larson, Emma Stone, Anne Hathaway in supporting, but like, this was Lee. So I based it more on the archetype of the young, fresh female Oscar winner. And that's what I did with a lot of the characters. It was less about like basing it on a specific person and more like a type that you would find. So like there's a character that's like the real life person that like Riley played. So I, that was the Philomenas, the like real Captain Phillips that are just paraded through these red carpets. The Temple Grandins, which is like the blueprint of it,
Yeah.
So it was, it was based on that type of like person.
It's perfect because I mean, I think the stat is that the average age of a Best Actress winner is 29 years old.
Yes.
So ideal. It's perfect.
Yeah, and I was thinking like, how would they, what is a lot of them probably these days, started in TV and there's just, made a jump. So, also like try to bring a lot of that into it, and like what does it mean to like make a serious jump. And because Riley, started in this kind of like Riverdale Vampire Diaries type of show, and now she's being taken seriously. So what does that mean? So it yeah.
It's kind of perfect that you are 2 episodes in, because as we record this week, the actual Oscar nominations were announced.
They were, yes.
And I looked at the list, and then I thought about the podcast. And so I want to ask you, who do you think would be the most likely candidate to suffer the fate of
to be murdered? Oh God. I mean, if we shift from lead actress to supporting actress, I feel like if a Maria Bakalova or I feel like even an Amanda Seyfried like ends up winning, she probably would have, gotten the chop. And not saying because there's this other certain nominee, but because it does correlate very nicely. I mean, I'd love to see Olivia Colman as a murder suspect,
Yeah, I think the supporting actress nominees handed you a wonderful gift.
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah, there's a lot of like,
existing side
I
by
mean, because
side.
there's even like, you know, the foreign, the foreign nominee. So yeah, that would be an interesting thing. And lead actress, I mean, there's a lot of, you know, if Carrie ended up winning, I could see her getting it, or if Vanessa. Um, I mean, you know, Frances has murder in her eyes, so you know, it's
I'm sure she has before.
yeah, and I would let Viola Davis murder me, so you know, it's
And she would get away with it.
exactly, yeah. I told about it. So yeah, I would do that. Of the men, I don't care about them, so I don't want to get it.
Really, really does not matter. No, no.
Yeah.
What have been some of your favorite Oscar races in the past?
Ooh. Oh, I wish I had. Okay.
I probably should have helped you prep on this because
Yeah. No, I would have like opened up my archives. I let me try to think. I really liked the 2017 Oscar race that ended up with Shape of Water winning. I feel that was just like a weird, uncertain race, and that's I don't know. I always think it's funny when like people look back and it's like and mention that movie as like the safe choice. It's like, have you seen the movie? Um, and that also had like the whole Laurie Metcalf, Allison Janney of it all, which you know, the wars, the Twitter gay wars, the gay Twitter wars about that. So that was a fun race to follow. The like of recent years. I mean, if we go back, I'm very invested in the Baby Jane Oscar year, because you know that's I mean, talk about like conflict and drama and like something that would translate well if you know one of them had ended up dead. So you know, so those are coming to mind. I'm sure I would have like much better options if I had you know more time to think about it.
Yeah, I should have let you prep.
Yeah.
That's very
That's fine.
bad on me. Well, what can we expect on the next and in future episodes of
Oh.
Just to Be Nominated without getting too spoilery?
No. There's not. I mean, there's still about because I've had people reach out. I mean, and I love that they do that. With like their theories of who they think did it, and I mean, we have just barely scratched the surface. There's a lot more people to come. Like every episode is based around a different suspect, and every episode we see a bit more of the night colored in and like where everyone was. So I would say don't, you know, there's more people to bring into the circle of who might have been, and don't rule anyone out. That's you know.
That sounds good to me.
Yeah, that's what I can say. And yeah, I mean, there's like so much vocal talent, like great vocal talent coming, and like different kinds of interviews, and like we one of the like we've been adding a lot more of the like fake movie clips because we really like how those work. So like we've been implementing a lot more of that dynamism to it. So you know, be on the lookout for more fun. When I say like there's a fake Riverdale show, you know, maybe you'll get to hear a little bit of it. So it's yeah, it's a lot of fun that's coming, and I hope people keep enjoying it.
I hope so too. I think they will. Jorge, tell people where they can find the podcast.
Yes, it's on everywhere you listen to podcasts. Just to Be Nominated, an award season murder mystery. We are on Twitter and Instagram at JTBN Podcast. So please follow us. We post you know, fun. Our graphic designer is like amazing. So like we just been vomiting a lot of really cool art that he's made for us. And yeah, please reach out with any, you know, theories you may have, thoughts. And I am on both of those platforms at Color Me Jorge.
Yes, at the end of each of the podcasts, you list off the socials and the apps of
Yes.
everybody on the show,
Yes.
including it's a Kingdom of Pavement production.
Yes.
So please listen all the way through, because if you don't sit for the credits of a movie, I
Yes.
don't really want to know.
Also, you won't hear my lovely voice. So
Exactly. Exactly.
yeah, that's where you can find us. And yeah, we air every other week. So don't expect,
Yeah. So there's episode 3 is coming soon. Episode 1 and 2 are already available.
Our 1 and 2. Episode 3 air Thursday, March. Let me just look at my calendar. Thursday, March 25th. And then every other week you will see it on your app.
Perfect. All right. Jorge, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you for having me. This was delightful.
This was wonderful. This is really fun. All right. Well, best of luck.
Bye.